evening, everybody. You're unmuted, Van. I'm gonna there you go. Hello. I could not hear you, and I was like, oh no. We just heard you. Can't have a problem now.
I am here. And what do you think about that, Say Wong?
Yes, Say Wong. We are here on time. He's at the cave. Yes, he is. He remembered his power cord this time.
So every once in a while I'm organized.
On time. Everything was great and wonderful. Did you have a good week, Ark?
I did, especially since I can walk now. That's been an amazing.
Oh, that makes me so happy for you.
I am back on the road to recovery. What's up, Duran? Good to see you tonight. We have a bunch of we have a few new people. Let me say, I haven't gotten through this list. Graveyard, what is going on? We have an exciting show tonight. I'm sure that's why Graveyard is tuned in. He knows exactly who we have on tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he does.
But as always, we have an exciting lineup for you. I've actually got like the next month booked out, which is rare for
me. Weird. It's weird. I'm like used to going Thursday. Van, I need a guest.
Who is it?
Yeah, let's try to keep this momentum. Thank you, Saywong. We will do our best. I had a good week. I actually kind of forced myself to not work as hard as I normally do.
Great.
So I don't burn out, but this week is a little bit back into the grind of trying to get some stuff done. I'm gonna maybe put some more new merch thingies available. So check out kcpmerch.com. There's actually a code for the fall sale. So if you want to go to our Facebook, you can actually see what the code is on one of our most recent posts. And you can find out.
What's up, Cam?
While Cam has appeared. Hi, Cam.
And hello, Kevin.
There's always time for technical problems. No, there's not. Anyway, so I'm gonna be back to working hard. This is how tired I was last week. Why I made sure I took time off. I actually forgot to record and edit an upload for last Friday.
Uh-oh.
I was so tired. I didn't realize it until last night. And I was like, and I felt so much guilt. Thank you, Cam. I felt so much guilt like inside to not give our viewers like even though it's not like we have a gazillion viewers, every viewer matters to me. And I felt bad that I didn't get that scary game video up for people to watch. But
I'm sure
there will be some this week. Yeah, I know, but I still feel bad. So I will have one up this week. No problem. Hi, Matt.
What's up, man? And Mez, Graveyard is asking about where he can get some energy. He's feeling a little bit low on energy.
He needs some energy. Well, I have the thing just for you. Whether you are just waking up for our nerd out, staying up late gaming with us, or stuck in the Retro Alcove for hours, or just tired from your saber fights, our sponsor is just for you. Dubby has no calories, no sugars, no fillers, or artificial flavors. Each serving has 150 milligrams of coffee. That's 2 cups of coffee. And because it contains Neurofactor, it delivers energy and focus with none of the jitters. And you can get 10% off. Go to w.gg and use the code KCP2023.
Only 3 letters. Very, very easy.
Yes,
don't forget, we also have not only do we have kcp.com, but we also have kybercave.com if you need a saber or saber accessories. What's up, Mike Berger? We have you covered here at Kyber Cave. We also have a Patreon if you want to help support this show and our future shows. You can do that for as little as $1 a month and earn some fabulous prizes, including a custom-made saber.
Yes, which it went very well last time. It was a wonderful thing, and thank you for those who do choose to do Patreon. I really appreciate it. It helps support the time on the channel. And if you didn't know, since we got partnered with YouTube last April and we're monetized, you can actually support the channel by also giving YouTube super chats, which is like a tip or your own little donation you can do during a live stream. You'll actually see next to the comment, there's a little $sign there. That is how you give a super chat. And if you don't, and you just want to watch, I am happy to have you here and happy to chat and all that jazz. All right,
But
so
don't forget, we are one of the few channels that does giveaways for every 100 subscribers. In fact, we're
yes,
about
we do.
83, I think, away from our next giveaway.
Yeah.
And we will be giving away a NeoPixel lightsaber on our next giveaway for hitting 1,500
Tell
subscribers.
people.
Let
Tell
everybody
people.
know.
Tell everybody.
All your YouTube channels.
Yes. Now, without further ado, what is the first thing we do on our channel?
We say, "What's up, Eric?"
No. We do the nerdy news, y'all. Hey, oh, that is Eric. You're like, that's the first time on the show we say hi, Eric. I'm glad you're back, Eric. It's good to see you. Thank you, and come on in. The nerdy news. First thing on the news this week. Chopper cereal treats. These actually looked really cute. So
Wow.
that's Hera's droid. And you see him most recently on the Ahsoka series. But if you want to check out this, and I know Frey Girl might be really interested in it, there's a link to the article with the whole recipe and how to make it. And I thought it was just kind of adorable and fun, so I decided to include that into the nerdy news. So get your Chopper cereal treats and your recipe down below and make some for yourself. Next on our news, a new season of Marvel's original podcast series, Women of Marvel, is coming. If you guys don't know Women of Marvel, it's kind of like what it is. It's a podcast with interviews with women from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can actually check the article in the link in the description below, and it tells you all about the cosplayers, editors, writers, all that jazz that will be on the podcast series. So check out the link in the description below for that. I'll also go ahead and post the links to both of these things in the comments, just in case you want to not open the description.
And I have a piece of nerdy news.
Ooh, what's your piece of nerdy news?
I am very excited. For those of you that have been following the Ahsoka series, you know that we are coming up to, I believe, episode 5. And Dave Filoni has said that this next episode is going to change Star Wars, the way you look at Star Wars. In fact, the Lucasfilm team is so excited about this episode. Supposedly, it's supposed to be mind-blowing that it is going to be released in theaters. They're doing a limited release in theaters. If you live here in the Bay Area, it's going to be in Emeryville at the Bay 16 theaters. If you live in LA, it's going to be on down there. Those are the only 2 locations in California that are going to be showing it. But this Tuesday night, and I don't know if they're doing, like one screening or multiple screenings the whole night. I can't imagine they're just doing one, because I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people there. But if you go to our Facebook page, Kyber Cave Facebook page, I have a list of the different cities and locations and times of where it's playing, so you can check to see if there's a location playing near you. But this is supposedly a game-changing episode, so
yeah. And Mr. Berger says that it'll be limited AMC theaters in San Francisco, DC, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Washington, lots of different places. Graveyard, oh man, I'm super excited. I can't wait to see how our predictions go on Force Visions Game Over on Discord SMNO. Yeah, if you guys don't know, we actually play a game on Saturday morning Nerd Out. We have an Ahsoka one going on right now. And if you want to join our Discord, just check the link tree in the description below, and you can actually find the link to our Discord in the link tree, and you can join us. But please take note that the Discord is 18 years and older. You got the invites. Yes. Awesome. Yes, we're both doing comments. We're both overproducing.
With Jedi Council of America, dude. They get all the cool stuff.
They do get all the cool stuff. Me, Metza, I wear my KCP shirt at home, and I'm happy.
Woo-hoo. I got mine on too.
Woo-hoo, yes. I know. I'm really tempted to get a conspiracy shirt, but I'm also trying to save up for, like, I want to get, I don't know if any of you all have seen these, but monitor arms. Mm-hmm. It's a strong clamp that goes on your desk, and then these arms come up and holds your monitors off of the desk.
Oh, wow.
And I'd love to get those, but, money is money.
Everything costs money.
Everything costs money, but I'm trying to invest in improving, like, my setup and improving my streaming for all you guys and like my personal community. And I start. Oh wait, my personal community. Hey, did I tell you guys that I actually start streaming on my own Twitch channel again, starting next month? On October 3rd is my first day back. I'll be streaming every Tuesday and Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Twitch. Just look up MetzoJD on Twitch. and you'll find my page there with the same image announcing that I am starting again in October. You can find me there playing games. I might do some art at times, but it will be mostly gaming in that spot.
So if you can't get enough of our good friend Mezzo here on KCP, make sure to head over to Twitch and watch her game there. She also games on this channel as well. So
yes, I game on here on Wednesday mornings. But if you're not tired of my 2 to 3 times here a week, you can find me 2 more times on my own channel.
When do you have time for your family? Holy goodness.
I do have to make them, but we're morning people, so we're not really morning people, but we have to be up earlier. And I spend a little time with them then, and then I spend time with my kids when they come home. I pick them up from school. I take one to school and all that jazz. I find time. I don't know how. People's like, "How do you do it?" And I was like, "I really don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out."
You just Tetris it in wherever you can.
Yes, I keep the show going. Say Wong, they did the show before I came. They did do this show before I came. I know Dan's thinking, but
we've been ready for like a year and a half before she came. Come on,
yes,
say Wong.
Come on. It was running.
But speaking of keeping the show going.
Oh, keeping the show going. Next, guys, we have our flow of the show. We got James Kaiser, who is our producer. Every week, he brings us a flow of the show where, we feature an artist who has something either visually mesmerizing, whether it be gloving, whether it be fire dancing. But this week, it's a saber spinner.
We're back to sabers.
Excited.
And this is Grady Magee. We've actually had an interview with Grady before. I don't remember what episode, but hopefully we'll have Grady on again sometime soon. But he is a fantastic flow artist and happy to see him back.
Thank you, Say Wong. All right, guys. Well, please enjoy Grady Magee. It is short but sweet. All right, that was really, really neat. I like that very much. You're on mute again.
That's because you had the music going again for some reason.
Yeah, but it should unmute you automatically when you come on. That's the confusing part. All right. Well, thank you so much, James Kaiser, for bringing us that flow of the show. You can actually find the link to that video down below in the description if you'd like to go check out Grady Magee's Facebook page. All right.
Excellent.
So moving on, sir. Our guest is next. Would you like to introduce?
Yes. If you live in the Bay Area, you might have seen this gentleman at many, many different cons, especially the spookier ones. If you've got a sinister creature con, but he's actually at several of them. I can't remember all the names of the spooky cons that we have. We're very fortunate in California to have a good number of cons. This gentleman can be seen nationwide doing his nerve-wracking show. He is the infamous Lord Blood-Rah. Give it up one time.
My lords and ladies, you're muted again.
Am I muted?
You're not now. You're not, but you're okay now.
I think it's like right after other music cuts out for some reason, just like a second or two, I get cut out.
Weird.
That's right. Weird. So I'm seeing, and we'll get into this here in a second, but Graveyard, who is a fan of yours, says he also does stuff an hour away or so from me in South Bend, Indiana. Man, you're all over the place.
Yeah, the show was on in Fort Wayne, Indiana for about 10 years. The station just made the decision to switch over all of their programming to corporate on the weekends.
Okay.
So I lost that station now, but I was on there for 10 years. But
Oh, wow.
I still do live shows there. As a matter of fact, coming up October 28th at the Cinema Center, I'm doing a Halloween party there. So there's going to be food, drink. I'm going to be showing some hand-selected Halloween
Are you going to
shorts.
physically be there, or are you
Yes.
going to live stream
Yeah,
out there?
I'm flying out there to do it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Is
And
that
then
where you're from?
No, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. Yeah, I was just lucky enough to get a couple of stations out in the Midwest. And this was before the Nostalgia Network that I'm on now, which is national. But I was on My TV. Was on My TV Fort Wayne for about 10 years. And for about an equal amount of time, I was on My 59 in Peoria. And I still do live shows and appearances in both of them. And coming up on the 28th at the Halloween party, I'm going to be hosting the 44 Universal Classic House of Frankenstein.
Ooh.
Yes, that's going to be a fun one of the old original classics.
Why don't we back up just a little bit and maybe we can let people know who you are and what you do for people who may not know who you are. I mean, they can hear you talking about stations, but let's fill them in on what exactly you do.
I'm a horror host. I host horror and science fiction films. Everybody knows an example of a horror host. The America's horror host now is Svengoolie. So, like Svengoolie, I host horror movies. There are a lot of us out there. We're in a kind of second golden age of horror hosts due to the internet and a lot of local stations that are picking up horror hosts. We've been around forever. I think, Vampira, Elvira, Zachary, Goulardi, Horde of All, who is still going strong on the internet. We've been around a long time, and I basically present classic and non-classic horror and science fiction films on my TV.
Now, do you curate it yourself? Like, do you find a movie and go, "Oh, this is what I want to show this week"? Do you do any kind of research on the movie to let people know about the movies? Or
absolutely, yeah. Well, I've been doing this since 2011 or so. So I've got a backlog of over 100 episodes, and then I keep producing new episodes as well. So yeah, I'll basically, up until recently, I will look for public domain films, because that was essentially all I could really do, because broadcast licensing is extremely expensive.
Yes.
So I've been like I say, a backlog of over 100 episodes that are all public domain films. But now that I'm affiliated with the Nostalgia Network, I'm going into non-public domain films. As a matter of fact, 2 episodes coming up at the end of this month are 2 Hammer horror classics, The Curse of Frankenstein and Revenge of Frankenstein.
Right.
And, coming up Halloween night on the Nostalgia Network, I'm doing a 3-hour special where I host the original Universal Dracula and the original Frankenstein.
Oh.
So under the good auspices of the Nostalgia Network, I can do these true classics, these real classics.
Do you only concentrate on classic horror, or do you do more modern horror as well? And I'm not sure if that has to do with copyrights and laws.
It has to do with copyrights a lot. I do public domain, but the show is also family friendly. So there's a lot of stuff out there that I kind of shy away from. A lot of stuff that takes some creative editing. I did Lady Frankenstein, which is public domain, but that took some creative editing to get it, to fit in a family friendly format. Yeah.
So you said you started this 2011. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
I started as a horror host in 2009, doing it live. So I was presenting live film events around the Bay Area. And then
rent out a little theater or something and then show a movie, or how did you do that?
I started, oddly enough, at a winery in Castro Valley. Good friends of our family owned a winery, and they sold it like a couple of years ago, but they had a winery where they did special events and obviously sold wine and had wine tasting. And I showed the winemaker, Damien, the classic film, in my estimation is classic, Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Right.
And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. Said, well, we've got to show this. We've got to show this at the winery. And I said, yeah, but you can't just show the movie. You got to have a show. You got to have a host. You got to da 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 da. So we found a host, and the host the show came off, but it didn't quite work out well. So the next day he said, I want to keep doing this. This is great. I want to keep doing this every year. Do you know any other host? And I said, no, I don't. And my wife turned to me and said, why don't you do it? And I didn't have an answer. And,
right.
Somewhere off in the distance, a wolf howled and thunder cracked, and Lord Blood-Rah was born.
Did you have any kind of hosting experience before that?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. Before that moment, if you told me you're going to be a horror host and you're going to have a nationwide TV show, I would have said you're out of your mind. I would have said you're crazy. I've always loved horror and science fiction. I've always loved these films and the entire genre, but never dreamt of being a horror host, having a TV show. I fell into it backwards, both the hosting live and the TV show. I was at a convention doing a panel on horror hosting, like the history of horror hosting. And a guy stood up in the audience and said, I run the station at Chabot College in Hayward. We would like to run your show. And I said, great. Yeah, let's talk. I didn't have a show. I didn't own a camera. I had nothing. I knew nothing about doing it.
Right.
Any less than I do now. And I put it together, and I started there. And then I got stations in the Midwest, and now the Nostalgia Network. It's just,
wow.
I'm a lucky geek. That's all there is to it.
I want to come back to this line of questioning, but we have a question from the audience here.
Okay.
It says, what about Rocky Horror? I can imagine that would be hard to put on TV.
Love Rocky Horror. Hard to put on TV. Would love to host it live. I would do it live in a heartbeat, but yeah, hard to put on TV in a family-friendly format. And by the way, when I say family-friendly, I'm not a prude. I mean, I watch non-family friendly films, but I like to keep the show family friendly just because it's a great way to introduce younger people to the genre. I get a lot of that from families saying, oh, thank you for doing a show that I can show my kids these films that I grew up loving and introduce them to horror. But I love Rocky Horror. I was a big fan of it for years, when it first came out. Great film. Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you a question, because obviously I've seen a lot of the classic, the B movies and things like that. I, of course, know Mystery Science Theater 3000, how they would show a lot of older movies. The movies that you do, the ones in public domain, do you have a huge selection to choose from, or is it very limited? Because comparing, it seems like horror is kind of a niche thing. So I would think that you would have less. And especially if you're picking things from, the 40s and 50s.
Yeah. Well, there are public domain films that go up into actually the 80s that are just abandoned films.
Really?
They put them out and don't bother, either don't copyright it properly or let the copyright lapse. So there's a lot of stuff out there. And I don't just do horror. I also do science fiction and a bit of fantasy. Like I've done the Italian Hercules films and the Machiste Samson films, that kind of thing, and the science fiction stuff, and all that. But there's a surprisingly big pool of public domain films out there. Some that are pretty well known, some that really aren't. And I just if you dig deep enough, even me doing the show for 10 years. I dig, and sometimes I'll find something that's like, I've never heard of this before, and it's in the public domain, and it's horror, or science fiction, or I have to do this. By the way, Stefan, write me. I am interested in doing Rocky Horror Live. Write me at lordbloodrah@yahoo.com.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Connections.
So you have been a fan of horror movies your whole life.
Yes.
How did you decide that this was how you were going to go, that you were going to really start with horror then, as opposed to other genres you could have done.
You mean as far as hosting?
Correct. I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh,
correct.
I wouldn't consider hosting anything else. And when you think of it, horror hosts have been a thing since the 50s on TV and the 1930s in radio, So I wouldn't consider hosting anything else. There are a few other examples, like when I was growing up in the 70s, I think it was the 70s, maybe late 60s. There was the old Sourdough on Channel 36 that would show westerns in the afternoon, and there are a few other examples. But no, horror films are the films that have hosts, thus horror hosts. And because it's always better to watch a horror or science fiction movie with a friend. Always.
Okay,
better.
I was going to ask you, why do you think this genre in particular? Because you don't turn on and see the romantic comedy show hosts. You don't.
That's right.
Why do you think the horror? Do you think it's just because people want to feel like somebody else is there watching it with them?
I think so, but I think they want to feel that in any kind of film that they're watching. I think with horror films, they're so bizarre and so kind of other that it's good to have a kind of touchstone with somebody who knows more about the film and knows more about that world, that will kind of take you into it. The horror host John Stanley, who was the second horror host of Creature Features here in the Bay Area, after Bob Wilkins retired, did a panel years ago at WonderCon talking about horror hosts, and he said horror hosts occupy the same space as shaman do in tribes. A shaman will go to the other side, experience the netherworld or the other realms, and come back and lead other people safely there and show them around and then bring them back. And that just hit me between the eyes. I was like, oh yeah, I love that. So it's it's taking people on these excursions into weird, other strange worlds and bringing them back safely. So I think that's really the appeal of a horror host, is somebody that's a guide into these weird realms,
Right. And I was going to ask you, I'm not, you might have just answered it right there, but Graveyard has a comment here that he says horror films tend to stand the test of time more so than other genres overall. Why do you think that is? Why would a horror movie be, from 50 years ago, be just as relevant today, more so than, I don't know, a suspense movie or like I said, a romantic comedy or something?
I think there's a lot of reasons. One is what basically scares us has remained the same. Fear of the dead, fear of being eaten, fear of death, fear of all of these fears have remained the same. They change over time slightly. New fears are added,
right?
But what we're basically afraid of stays the same. Now, films that aren't so good, the so bad it's good film, right? Which to me, the only bad films are boring films.
Right.
Plan 9 from Outer Space has been called the worst movie ever made. No, it's not. No. The worst movie ever made was released in 1965 at some backward drive-in somewhere in the South. It played for one weekend, and nobody ever heard of it again because it was boring. Right. Nobody ever talked about it. Movies that are so bad they're good are entertaining. That's why they're still around. Right. So even those, because they're so unique, a lot of them have very unique premises. They're also funny. You've got to have a certain sense of humor, I think, to appreciate quote unquote bad movies.
Right.
Whether you're laughing at the movie or laughing along with the movie. There's just something so entertaining about a film where they're just trying so hard to make a good movie. God love them, and they just can't do it. Right. There's something hilarious about that. Then I also love the directors that are just out trying to make a quick buck, and you can see that they don't care. And there's something humorous about that too.
Right.
Just, the the special
Now,
effects are, ping pong
for
ball
you,
eyes.
when you're watching a movie, are you sitting there enjoying the movie and just taking in, or are you like writing little notes? Oh man, this camera angle is terrible, or this story kind of went off the rails. Do you watch it more as as just a regular viewer, or because you're the host, you kind of dissect movies a little different?
When I'm watching a movie and writing an episode around it, I don't get into camera angles or that kind of thing, but I'm always looking for something I can talk about. I break up the episodes or rather the movies, into 10-minute chunks to make room for the commercial breaks.
Right.
And then at the end of that 10 minutes, I'll see something that I want to make a joke about, or I want to point out, or a member of the cast that is prominent. I want to talk about what they've done in other films, or something that is just so weird or so wrong or so funny. I've got to do a bit on it, But otherwise, and that's only when I'm writing an episode. Otherwise, I can easily just sit and watch a movie just for entertainment.
Right. Now we have a Graveyard is here. He's actually interviewed you when you were talking to Distance Nerding. He does a horror podcast called We Mostly Pod Out at Night, mostly.
Okay.
I've had great discussions with him about horror, but I'd love to get your thoughts on some of these. Why do you think people like to be scared? I mean, typically, isn't that something we run away from?
Usually, it's a safe rush. It's the same reason people ride roller coasters. Or I think ski, or why thrill seekers do what they do. It's a safe rush. You feel the rush. Your body feels the rush of being in danger, being pursued, being scared. That kind of adrenaline jolt. But you're fine. You're safe. You're okay. Right. To me, it's exactly that. Now, there are deeper psychological things too that again go back to the fear of death, the fear of that's why one of my favorite movies, I think most horror fans, is Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
That is that's the personification of death coming for you in the guise of people you've known, of relatives, of your brother, sister, mother, father. That's some deep psychological horror.
Right. And when you're talking about psychology, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. Frey Girl has a comment here. She says, horror movies keep us from committing the despicable things by watching them being done on the screen. Do you think it's a way for us to kind of live vicariously, so that like when we're sitting in commute traffic and you want to strangle that guy in front of you, we go home and watch a horror movie and we get that out?
There's definitely a facet of that. Yes, absolutely. Toby Hooper told the story. Was it Toby Hooper? I don't start doubting myself now. No, it was Toby Hooper. Told the story that the way he came up with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was he was Christmas shopping in a Sears, and it was packed, and he happened to be in the hardware area with the chainsaws, and he looked at a chainsaw and thought, oh, if I picked up one of these and started it, I could clear this place out really quick. And he said that was the scene for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So talk about, talk about your daily frustrations, venting in horror. But yeah, I think so. I think we get a vicarious thrill from the horrors that we see. We all have a dark side. We all have something going on inside us that you either want to acknowledge or don't want to acknowledge, and I think horror can touch that, and horror can add some relief to it.
Right.
Sometimes I'm afraid of Frey Girl, by the way.
You should be. Yeah. Now I want to ask you, this is probably going to sound like a stupid question or a silly question, because I feel like we all feel like we know it, but what is horror? Because sometimes I watch a movie and I go, is this a suspense movie? Is this a thriller? Is this a horror? Does horror have to have gore to be considered horror?
Horror has kind of become a catch-all. You can ask the question, is Psycho a horror film? Or is it a suspense film? or is it a thriller?
Mm.
The classic one, I guess, is Jaws. Is Jaws a horror film, or is it
Right.
just a thriller
Oh,
or a suspense film? I tend to think that if the basic emotion of the film is to scare you or unnerve you, then it can classify as a horror film. It can also be other things.
right.
Frankenstein is a horror film. Dracula is a horror film. Night of the Living Dead, horror film. Psycho, horror film, but also a thriller, also a psychological horror
Right.
film. And there's that
Graveyard
too.
says it's the
There's
first
so many,
slasher film.
right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so many facets of horror, psychological horror, gore, splat stick that Sam Raimi kind of invented. There's so many facets of horror that it's very hard to say,
Right.
exactly what horror is. But I say if the overall emotion and feeling that they're going for is fear or unnerving you in some way, then yeah, it classifies as a horror film.
Do you still do you ever get scared anymore, or are you immune
Oh
to it
yeah.
by now?
Oh no, yeah. Yes. I have a very hard time with home invasion films because
That's real.
that happens. That's real. That stuff
Right.
is very close. It's very close to real. I prefer supernatural horror films, monster films, ghosts, demonology, the occult, that kind of thing. But there are some great things out there that are, in that kind of, I guess, psychological killer motif. There's an incredible one that it's in the public domain. I've shied away from doing it on the show because it is a very intense film, and it's called The Sadist, from the 1960s, and it's based on a real life killing spree
Oh
that went
wow.
on through the South. I can't remember the name of the killers that it's based on, but it's a really gritty, intense film. Arch Hall Jr. from Egon and other things is in it, and he actually turns in a great performance.
Oh
Great
wow.
performance in this film. I may do it. I may do it now because I think I can have a little more leeway with the Nostalgia Network. I may do it.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I was just thinking about the movie. A lot of controversy on Netflix about the Jeffrey Dahmer movie. Now that was set as kind of a documentary, but would you also consider that horror? Because it was real events, a movie about a real person.
True crime can be horror, sure. Yeah, there was a film that was can't remember what the title was, but it was based on the Ed Gein. Well, so many horror films are based on the Ed Gein, on Ed Gein himself. But there was one that was a documentary on Ed Gein, docudrama, I should say. I would say that's a horror film. The Boston Strangler from Tony Curtis starred in it. I would say that's a horror film, true crime film, but that is a horror film. And Fragirl's asking about The Menu. I have not seen it yet. I'm curious to see it. My wife saw it. Charles Starkweather. Yes, thank you very much, Graveyard. My wife saw The Menu, and she said it's a horror film, and she enjoyed it, and she's not a horror fan. So I need to see it. I do need to see it.
Right. What besides Night of the Living Dead, I know you were talking about that being a classic, but are there other just movies that are absolute favorites of yours that you feel like, man, I wish people knew this movie existed?
Yes, the big one, although it's gotten a lot of love recently, and I'm really glad to see it, is Spider Baby.
Okay.
That is an incredible film. It's Lon Chaney Jr.'s last really good performance. It's got an almost embryonic Sid Haig in it. I think it's like his second film. He's in his 20s in this movie. Spider Baby. It's about this family that has a genetic disease where when they grow up, when they reach puberty, their bodies continue to age, but their minds regress. And the older they get, the more their minds regressed. If they, science, if they
Right.
regress beyond their birth, they become cannibalistic monsters.
Oh, wow.
Because, science.
Right.
And Ron Chaney's in it, Sid Haig, Beverly Washburn, who is amazing in it. And it is a great film. It's a horror. It's a black comedy, really.
Mm-hmm.
But an incredible film, and it's in the public domain. Look for Spider Baby, see that film. I think it's great. There's another one called Messiah of Evil.
Okay.
That is kind of an H.P. Lovecraft film. Again, public domain. Just a really chilling film. A love letter to H.P. Lovecraft. And there's something about the film that kind of gets under your skin. I really love it. Messiah of Evil. Yeah, check it out.
Right. And what about, say, dark comedies? Would you put that in the same category as horror, or is that its own separate thing? I can't think of a great example. I was thinking of Donnie Darko at first, but I don't think that's really a comedy.
American Werewolf in London.
Oh.
Yeah, that's is that a horror film that's funny, or is it a comedy that's scary? Yeah.
Right.
It's equally funny and equally chilling. You go back years ago, the original Little Shop of Horrors, the original black and white Little Shop of Horrors, Roger Corman is, I've shown it live a lot of times, still gets a laugh. And this is obviously the non-musical version. Still gets a laugh, still very funny, but it's about a man eating plant.
Right.
And at its root, it's a horror film. So it depends. As a matter of fact, just last night on the Nostalgia Network, I hosted The She-Beast with Barbara Steele.
Okay.
And that movie is surprisingly funny. Though it is flat out a horror film, a lot of intentional comedy moments in it. A lot of horror films can be very funny and unintentionally.
Right,
of course, but intentionally funny and very good. Shaun of the Dead is, great example. Great example.
Zombieland, I think, was another
Zombieland,
example.
Yes. Yes.
Now,
Fido? Have you ever seen Fido?
I have not, no.
Oh, great film.
I'm going to have to get a list from you by the end of this of things that I need to go check out. How do you feel about horror parodies? One of my favorite that I can think about is there was an old movie called Saturday the 14th. Are you familiar with that movie?
Oh, yeah.
And then more recently, there's been like parodies of the Scream movies. The Wayans brothers did parodies of the Scream movies. How do you feel about those?
Some are good, some aren't. It depends. If the jokes are funny, if it's not just if it's not just a very broad parody of the entire genre, then then they're fine. What's the best horror parody? I guess Young Frankenstein, right? Comes to mind.
Yeah. Mel
horror
Brooks
parody out there. Right. Saturday 13th was very fun. I enjoyed it.
And now you said so. Now it's mostly television, right? But you're still doing live shows as well, correct?
Oh yeah. Every month at the Orinda Theater in Orinda, California, I host Chiller Diller Theater.
Oh.
And it's every third Saturday night of the month at 8:30.
Okay.
In Orinda, and we show classic horror and science fiction films. Like, as a matter of fact, next Saturday we're doing the Ray Harryhausen classic "It Came from Beneath the Sea."
Oh.
And then in October, I don't know the date, but again, the third Saturday night in October, we're doing our Halloween party, and we're showing the William Castle film 13 Ghosts.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, and that's been going on for a couple of years, and it's fun. The Orinda Theater is an old movie palace. They have a full bar, food, and you come in, and we show usually a short subject before. We give out prizes, and we show a classic horror or science fiction film.
Wow. Do you feel like is there a difference for you doing a live show versus, say, a televised? I mean, I know obviously the work is different, but do you feel differently? Like, do you like being in that crowd so you can see people's reactions, or?
Oh yeah. I like both. Really. Yeah, being in and with an audience, sharing a film directly with them, kind of looking the audience in the eye and talking to them about these films, and hearing the audience's reactions during the films and stuff like that that's really fun. I really enjoy that. And then when I do the show, looking through the camera at the audience, talking to the audience that way, it's a more controlled venue. It's a more controlled way to do a show, but I like both of them equally. I love hosting either live or on the TV show.
Excellent. So the next question I have for you is, I'm not asking if you participate or if you do this, but what are your thoughts about horror video games? Do you feel like that's the next evolution of a horror movie, or do you think it's just a waste of time, or is it just a different experience?
From what I'm not a gamer in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I'm 60. My game was pinball.
But I'm sure you're aware of, like, there's the Silent Hill series.
Oh no, I know. Oh yeah. A lot of them get made into movies as well, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think they'll run parallel. I don't think they'll replace movies. But I think they'll run parallel, and the two mediums will swap back and forth as they do now. Now it's mostly a video game will come out and then a movie or TV series will come out based on it, but there'll probably be a flow back and forth, between games and horror media, movies and TV.
Right.
I want to answer Swang's question. How has horror evolved over the decades?
Good question, Sewang.
Yes, thank you. What scares us has basically stayed the same. But every decade has its new fears and its new insecurities, right? I mean, in the 50s, it was the atomic bomb,
right,
and everything was the effects of radiation and things like that. Then communism, and then you had was the big American scare, and from that you had the come on now, the pod people. Help me, I'm old.
The
Invasion of
the
Body Snatchers. You had that disease. Just getting through the pandemic and stuff. Now you're seeing a lot of things that are about contagions and that kind of thing. So fear, what scares us changes and reflects what's going on in society. To that end, there's an incredible book out there by David Skal called The Monster Show.
Okay.
It's on the history of horror. Decade through decade, he talks about what's going on in that decade and how horror films reflect that fear. Right. And he gives incredible examples throughout, and really an incredible book. I recommend that to anybody interested in horror.
And I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like sometimes the horror isn't an obvious direct connection. So for example, I'm thinking about the 80s. The 80s, I feel like, was our classic time for slasher movies. That's when you had, Friday the 13th and your Freddy Kruegers and Michael Myers, Halloween.
Right.
Do you think that is a reflection of maybe the media starting to report more serial killers? Why would all of a sudden slasher movies be the big thing that a generation is known for?
It could be a hangover from the 70s, where everything was kind of disco, bright and beautiful, and that kind of thing.
Right.
The end of the 70s, where everything was Star Wars. Everything is still Star Wars. But, kind of a return to grittier horror. I don't know if there was necessarily an influx of serial killers or news about serial killers back then. It could just be as simple as Halloween was a huge hit, and everybody copied that.
Right.
You
Right.
know? That happens a lot in all genres, but especially in horror. Something will
Right.
be a huge hit, and
And
then
you'll see similar themes pop up.
oh yeah, yeah.
So I remember reading an interview a long time ago with Quentin Tarantino, and I guess he got his start. He used to work in a video store,
Mhm.
and he said he would just look at the movies that people were renting on a regular basis, and he tried to understand what it was about these movies that people liked. My question to you is, because you've been so involved with so many different horror movies, you've seen so many, you've seen people's reactions. Do you have a horror movie in your mind that needs to get out on paper? Like, could you write your own horror movie?
I've had a few ideas. um, my thought actually, and I've been this has been in the back of my mind for about a year now, and I've got one story written, is not a movie, but a series of comic books
Mm.
based on, kind of like EC Tales from the Crypt kind of things. Because it's the one version of horror hosting I've never done. Right?
Wow.
Because I've done it live. I've got the TV show. I've got a podcast called Lord Blood-Rah's Nerve-Wracking Auditorium, where I host old time radio shows.
Right.
That's available wherever podcasts are available. But the only one I've never done is comics, like the Crypt Keeper and the
Oh,
Vault
yeah, yeah,
Keeper and
yeah.
the Old Witch, something like that. I would love to do that. So I've got one story written. Need to write a couple more. I have some ideas, and maybe I'll do that. I mean, but as far as writing a movie, I don't think I have a full scale. I don't think I have a story in my mind that could support an entire 90-minute movie. Maybe 4 or 5 pages in a comic book, yeah, but an entire feature length movie, I doubt it.
Now, Graveyard has a comment here. It looks like a direct comment to you.
Yes.
He says, "Hey, I happen to know people who make horror movies and comic books. We should chat." So maybe Graveyard, if you want to send him a message after, or vice versa.
Very good.
Get you guys
Please,
together.
yeah. I do have an artist in mind that I need to talk to, but I want to get at least one more story under my belt before I get it to him. But yeah, write me.
Have you ever done any shows internationally? I mean, I know your show broadcasts internationally, but have you ever done a live viewing in, say, I don't know, somewhere in Europe or anywhere else? What my question is how do people around the world respond to horror? Because in fact, Graveyard and I had a conversation about this before, but like when I think of Korean movies, I think of like zombie movies, and they have some they seem to be really into paranormal kind of movies. Japanese as well. There's a lot of movies about ghosts and spirits and things like that. Have you ever done shows with international people, or is horror
No.
the same around the world, or?
Oh no. I mean, just as it changes from decade to decade, what frightens people also is based on their culture as well. Like you say, Japanese horror is supernatural and usually avenging spirits, avenging ghosts, that kind of thing. French horror is, well, for a while there, I don't know about anything modern, but was just flat out gore, psychological elements to it, but very gory, very visceral stuff. So no, just like it changes from decade to decade. I think what scares people around the world is based on their cultural beliefs.
And
Yeah.
do you think it's easier to make a horror movie than other genres? Oftentimes I've heard when people don't necessarily have a big budget for a movie, they may, their first movie may be a horror movie. Something. Does that mean it's an easier movie to make?
A lot of people think so. A lot of people think so. And, I guess scaring somebody in a film is essentially easy, if you're just going for jump scares. The classic thing, you're creeping, you're looking for something in a dark room and, it's totally silent. And then the cat jumps out at you. It's just
Right.
an autonomic reflex to go, it's just, and that's to me it's a cheat, really, and, back in the 50s, you put together, a paper mache monster with ping pong ball eyes and, a rubber suit, and you've got a monster and you can do that kind of thing. So, I think, yes, on a basic level, to do a really good horror film. By the way, you asked about hosting. I haven't done anything in other countries, but for about 6-7 years, I hosted the Drunken Zombie International Film Festival in Peoria.
Okay.
And man, the films we used to get in, I mean, obviously all independent films. So, low budget films, usually acting, usually not that great, but the ideas in these films and some of the creativity in these films were things that I always looked forward to, because I never knew what I was going to see. And I always knew I was going to see something new.
Right.
Always. And it was really, really fun and really wonderful. So I guess, and there might be a certain freedom in doing horror films too, because you can come up with really kind of crazy, outlandish premises. And because another thing I like about horror is that if you take a believable character and put them in an outlandish or unreal, frightening situation, that's a really good way of examining that character. That's an interesting. I mean, again, back to Night of the Living Dead, that pressure cooker that they were in that house stripped all of those characters bare, and you knew them instantly.
Right.
So, I think that there's a lot to be said for first-time filmmakers doing a horror film. I think far too many think it's going to be easy.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, wow, man, it is amazing how quickly 40 minutes goes. We're coming up at we're a little bit past the end, but that's totally fine. I want to ask you, in closing, what do you see for the future of horror movies? And is there, and then after that, if you would like to leave the audience with anything, any special thoughts, or let them know where you're going to be. I know our fabulous director, Mezzo, will put in the description, she'll put where people can find, more information about you and watch your shows. But if you want to let people know, hey, I'm going on tour, or I'm going to be such and such. What are your thoughts on the future of horrors? Let's start with that one.
I think just because of the times we live in now, a lot of horror is going to be about reality not being what we think it is. It's going to be alternate realities. It's going to be conspiracy theory based, I think. I think that AI is going to play a big part.
Right. It's big fear
in
people's
horror,
right now.
because that is genuinely frightening. I find AI terrifying. I think those are going to be the big things, is reality not really being the reality we think it is, and AI. And, with all the talk about extraterrestrials too, and the Senate hearings and all that, there probably will be an influx of that as well, and I also, we're still going to have the slashers. We're still going to have the supernatural. We're still going to have, there will still be another Conjuring movie. A lot of, all the classics will still be, out there. A lot of them are going to be remade,
Right.
But I think that horror is one of those things. It may kind of ebb and flow, but it is always there.
Right.
Always there. And I think it always
Grady
will.
says there's going to be more movies about COVID when it becomes more acceptable to do so.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts or anything you want to leave people with?
Well, I'd like to invite you to check out my TV series, Lord Blood-Rah's Nerve-Wracking Theater. It's on the Nostalgia Network, Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and then again at 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
Really quickly, Sorry, when you say the Nostalgia Network, is that a cable thing or is that on the internet? Where is the Nostalgia Network?
It's OTA, so that it's a network of over-the-air stations all across the country, over 50 of them. But you can find it on Roku, Sling Free TV, Distro.
Oh wow.
Fire TV, I believe, local BTV. The best thing to do is go to watchnost.com.
Okay.
And you can find a guide there to find either a station near you or all the streaming platforms.
Okay.
Where you can find it. And that's every Saturday night at the times I gave. And check out my podcast, Lord Blood-Rah's Nerve-Wracking Auditorium, where I host old-time horror radio shows.
Oh wow.
Perfect listening for late night fall, dark, scary nights.
Right.
It's stuff from like the 30s and 30s, 40s, and 50s, but man, chilling stuff because it's all theater of the imagination. It's great stuff. Right. Very fun. Wow. And if you're local, I'd invite you to come to Chiller Diller Theater at the Orinda Theater every third Saturday night of the month at the Orinda Theater, Orinda, California. Go to lordbloodrah.com and there's a full schedule of films there.
Yeah, and also I was going to say, I thought I saw you were at an event in Salinas or something in October 7th or something like that, or maybe
Fremont. In Fremont, that's Fremont, Maine. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. On the 7th at the Fremont Maine Library, doors will open at noon. The show will start at 1. We're doing a Halloween event there where I'll be showing the giant Gila monster in 3D.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Oh, and again, in Fort Wayne, October 28th at the Cinema Center, Lord Blood-Rah's Halloween party hosting House of Frankenstein. So you can get tickets through my website, lordbloodrah.com. I'll be at the Contra Costa Halloween convention, October 22nd at the Hilton in Concord, I think. Not sure. All this stuff is on lordbloodrah.com. So I often have to check my schedule there to know where I'm.
You just go where the calendar tells you to go.
That's exactly it. Yeah. It's also in my phone. So yeah.
Lord Blood-Rah, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and talking to us tonight. Like I said, I am fortunate enough that I go to some of these conventions and I get to see you every once in a while. That for people in the audience, that's how we first met. Was I had seen you at one of your booths and we started talking. But I'm thankful to have the privilege to have gotten a chance to talk to you tonight and learn more about you and what you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'd be glad to come back anytime. And thank you, Kyber Cave Dwellers, for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. And I'm sure I'll see you at a con soon, and hopefully we can have you back on the show.
All
right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have
Take
a
care.
beautiful evening.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Next,
You're muted again, dude. You're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
No, it's not me. It's you.
No, there it is. No, I wasn't muted. It told.
Wait, hold on. After every segment, where you've had music, the music has been coming back on, and when the music is on, it mutes me.
Yeah, but it's supposed to it mutes me too, but it automatically unmutes me when I come back. So I'm not sure what. I'm not sure if it's your settings or something. If it's not like a automatically unmute or something.
Every time you said that I was muted, there was music playing, at least on my side. So I
interesting.
Know.
Okay.
You know what I just now learned watching the outro from Lord Blood-Rah? You know what I just learned? Lighting is everything. Do you see the incredible lighting that man has in his room?
Yes, I do.
All different colors splashing off and different, man. I need to do a better job around here.
I need to bring you that ring light, don't I? Do I still have it, or did I give it to you?
Yeah, you still have it. I need to get the ring light for when we do film.
Yes.
That was so much fun. That was fantastic.
I enjoyed that. I very much enjoyed listening to him. Lord Blood-Rah, you have a good voice to listen to as well, because it's like,
dude, he's a podcaster. He does radio shows. Knows what he's doing.
But yes, yeah, like I do content streaming and stuff, but I don't necessarily find my voice like relaxing to listen to and enjoyable in that sense. I hear a voice and I go, ooh, I want to hear more of that voice.
That's, are you a horror fan?
Yeah.
I
don't know what else
I
you see me playing scary horror games on our channel.
Okay. I guess that's true. Sorry, my bad.
I do enjoy horror. It's really funny because I grew up, one of my best friends is a horror fan, and I grew up watching horror movies with her. But, and this is like going to make me sound like a bad horror fan, I have never seen any of the Friday the 13th or the original Halloween. Yeah, I haven't seen
Kevin Bacon's in the first
or
Friday
Freddy Krueger. Yes, I have heard that. Or Freddy Krueger movies, Nightmare on Elm Street. I haven't seen any of those.
You just skipped like a whole decade of horror movies.
I know, it's weird, and I don't know why. I just never got around to watching them, and then now I just don't get around to watching them still.
Right, now you got little kids and can't watch them.
Not around them, usually. She has a list of 100 movies for me to watch. I know. Say Wong is so shocking. But yes, so thank you so much, Lord Blood-Rah, for coming on our show. I very much enjoyed that interview. And yes, guys, don't forget, we are not far. We are like 83 away from our next giveaway. We were doing a NeoPixel, so make sure that you tell people to come and check out our channel and subscribe. We would love to have them. All right, so next on our channel, guys. Oh, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I did. Really quickly, before we get into the next segment, I want to let people know, I want to say it's in 2 weeks and then in 4 weeks. We have 2 very big shows coming up. It's been one where we've had to take time to plan it ahead of time. But on the first show, we have all of the directors of all the local in all the national Saber leagues, the Saber Legion, Lightspeed, Ludo, anyways, a lot of the different, we have the leads of the different groups. That will be on the first show. 2 weeks after that, we have the ladies of the Saber show. So that will be a lot of, are you going to say something, Miss?
I don't think there's a specific date nailed down for the ladies of Sabers just yet, but you'll see an announcement specifically about it when we do nail down a specific date. But yes, in a week is a special night of like just Saber leader fun.
Is that next week's?
Yeah, 17th is what you have it written down as.
Oh my goodness.
That's next week. Yes, it does. Next thing you know, you're like, crud, it's next week. We gotta get on this stuff.
Yes, next week, make sure to tune in, especially if you've ever been interested in saber fighting, finding out where groups are in your area, or just learning more about it and the rules, or finding out which group is right for you. Every group has their own set of rules and requirements. And so that'll be a really good show for people to check out.
Sounds wonderful. All right, Kevin Hogan. Speaking of the man himself, Kevin Hogan is our producer for Kevin's Comic-Con Adventures. He goes to conventions every week and gives us a report on how they did, what happened, and one's coming up. So enjoy Kevin Hogan's report.
Hello, this is Kevin Hogan from Northern California with an episode of California Comic-Con Adventures. On the weekend of September the 2nd through the 3rd, 2023 was Long Beach Comic-Con 2023. Long Beach Comic-Con is an annual event that's held at the Long Beach Convention Center in Southern California. It's a celebration of comic books and pop culture that showcases the exceptional works of talented writers, artists, illustrators, and creators of all types of pop culture. At Long Beach Comic-Con, you'll find exhibitions, promoting and selling all types of related products, as well as entertaining and educational programs for all ages. They have celebrities signing things. For example, Flash Gordon was there. They had actors from Wakanda Forever there. They have meet and greet sessions, and lots of favorite cosplayers are there walking around showing off their fun costumes they made there. So if you ever happen to be in Southern California, definitely recommend checking out Long Beach Comic-Con. Also, on that same Labor Day weekend of September the 4th, 2023, our friends over at Ohana Comic-Con went to the Central California town of Turlock, California. Ohana Comic-Con, as you know, travels up and down the state of California every weekend, hosting an event in a different city, usually in very economical places like Moose Lodges, Elk Lodges, and Veteran Halls, often where there's free parking nearby there. Events are usually $10 or less admission there, so they're very affordable, and kids 10 and under are free, and they even have a $1 off coupon if you bring in the Facebook flyer with you online there. And it's a fun place to get to see local arts and crafts from local artists there, different sports memorabilia for sale there. If you stick around to the afternoon, they have their cosplay contest there, so you get to meet local friends there and see their fun costumes they're making there. They even occasionally have celebrities there to meet. For example, this time they had David Gonzalez, who played Jabba the Hutt's drummer Akrev from the Return of the Jedi third Star Wars movie there. And so whenever OhanaCon visits a town near you, definitely recommend checking them out. They're a really fun thing to see. Also on that same Labor Day weekend of September the 1st through the 3rd, 2023, was SAC Anime Summer 2023, where fans come to play at the Safe Credit Union Convention Center in downtown Sacramento. SAC Anime Summer 2023 was one of the largest Comic-Cons in Northern California. This year, in 2023, they attracted over 25,000 fans this year. They host a couple events every year, and they're also partnered, as you may know, with SacCon Comic-Con, which hosts quarterly events, both at the Safe Credit Convention Center and at the Roseville Grounds event area there. SAC Anime had some improvements this year, which were very good. For example, they had more food options. Not only does the Sheridan Hotel across the street had its restaurant, but also they had some more food vendors on the second floor of the convention center itself there, so that alleviated some stress on those vending machines inside the convention center. But also, for those of you familiar with the DreamWorks Comic-Con that happens sometimes in the South Bay area, they came over and merged their event with SAC Anime this year. So they actually had the DreamWorks Itasha car show right outside SAC Anime there, so we got to see all their really neat anime vinyl painted cars right outside the convention center, showing off the anime characters painted around the sports cars there. So we're hoping to see that in the future. That was very impressive. And of course there we got to see Steve Mead's Star Wars R2-D2 rolling around the halls there, along with the well-built Star Wars droids on display upstairs right next to Odinworks, amazing robots and other props from various movies upstairs there inside the hall. And also we got to see hundreds and hundreds of vendors inside the vendor hall there, and also dozens of different celebrities and voice actors signing autographs and giving panels as well there. And also, of course, the fans themselves doing their different fan panels. So we got to see many people giving interesting discussions on different topics and their favorite animes. So if you get a chance to visit SAC Anime, definitely recommend buying your ticket ahead of time to save some money. For example, it's about $35 to buy your weekend pass ahead of time if you pre-register. Buying your ticket the day of might be about $40 or $50 per day at the door itself there. So it does save you a little bit of money if you buy the weekend ahead of time, but still a really good deal there for a whole weekend of fun there. So definitely recommend checking out SAC Anime. And for those of you looking forward to upcoming events, definitely want to check out the Weekend Blender down in Clovis of Central California. That's a free Comic-Con held in the Sierra Vista Mall. That's going to be the weekend of September the 16th through the 17th. Also, on the weekend of Saturday, September 16th, 2023, from 2 to 9, is the Pokemon Fun Fest. That's at the Fremont Park in downtown Sacramento. And also, our friends over at Ohana Comic-Con are going to be visiting Fairfield on the weekend of September the 17th from 11 to 4. And for those of you in the Temecula area, is going to be Cartoonapalooza. That's going to be Friday, September the 15th from 3 to 7, and Saturday, September 16th from 10 to 5. And for those of you in the Long Beach area, on the weekend of September the 16th is going to be Alpha Omega Con, so definitely want to check out those events. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the picks, and we'll see you out there at the next Comic-Con.
Thank you, Kevin Hogan.
Woohoo! And to let you know,
you're not
Cave...
muted. You're not muted.
See, the music didn't come on right after this time. Kyber Cave will be on the 23rd. We will be in Concord on the 23rd and 24th at the Toy and Collectible Show. There is a con in Fairfield this Saturday. We did not get on, but I'm going to see if I can what do you call it? Wedding crash. I'm going to try to con crash. So I'm going to go there and see if they have anybody that dropped out last minute or couldn't make it.
It's like,
so I will try to be there.
You show up to a class at school that was full and you show up to see if anyone drops it so you can take class.
Exactly. But with sabers.
Yes, exactly. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Saber Rattle. We have 160 next week for our special episode too, number 160.
Wow.
I know. Yes, 160 episods of Saber Rattle.
We're going to try to get some early ads out because next episode, like I said, is going to be a big one. We've got a lot of, like I said, the owners of it is difficult to get one of these people, let alone like 5 of them at the same time.
Yes. So very, very excited about this. If you guys want to check out other shows on the channel, just check in the links and the information in the description below, and you can see all the information about our shows throughout the week. We have some that are also in pre-production ideas and such. So please check those out. We appreciate it. Don't forget, we're at patreon.com/Kyber Cave Productions, where you can help support the channel for as little as $1 a month. And you can also just support by watching us and share about our channel and get people to subscribe.
And maybe win a saber.
And maybe even win a saber. Who knows? The next one's a big one. NeoPixels. Those are amazing. All right. So enjoy our talk of the town for the week, and we will see you guys soon.
Thanks. See you guys next
week.
Bye. Bye, Bray. Bye.